What's going on, everybody? My name's Andy and welcome to my Game Week 29 preview for FPL. This week the talk is still quite a lot about blank game weeks. We've got some bit of news on some, we're still waiting on news from other. There could be even more coming along because the weather in the UK is really bad at the moment. Snow's kind of set in. A lot of the country's in red weather warnings, so we may see some games get called off. You may notice actually it's a bit different here today where I'm recording. That's because there's actually some sunlight coming through the window because I'm recording at 11:43 on a Thursday morning. So that's because I'm off work today because of the weather in Ireland, similar to the UK. So things are looking a bit brighter here video-wise, but weather-wise not so good. So we're going to talk about what's potentially going to come. And because I am recording early, obviously I haven't got news about the Man City an Arsenal game yet, so we'll have to go through kind of Game Week 28 based on what we've seen so far, and Game Week 29 based on what we've seen so far. I just want to be able to get this video out this week, so if I leave it any longer, it's just not going to happen. So we'll just jump straight into it. We'll go through the points for this week, my team, etc. Same as always, and yeah, let's just jump over. So this is my team for how it's scored currently this week. We're on 51 points because Francis will come on for Ive. That'll make it 51. And I'm basically waiting to see if Sterling plays. If he does, brilliant. If he doesn't, or doesn't even make a cameo, then I'm going to be down to 10 men. I'm not too concerned about that because the players I looked at maybe bringing in for a hit were Walcott in for Sterling. Obviously, Walcott did nothing. Nias for Crouch, he did nothing either. And I looked at Van Dijk in for a hit in defence. So I'm not too bothered about that because it didn't work out, but it will still be, you know, slightly frustrating to play with 10 men. But it is what it is. I knew I had a bad bench, and I knew that obviously the fixtures, the way it played out with the cup and the fact that Sterling's been carrying a knock, meant that it could happen. So be it. We're on 51. The rank's up to 59k. That's about a 7 or 8k jump in rank from last week. Not fantastic, but we can only hope that with planning over the blanks and the double game weeks and things like that and looking ahead, getting in players like Mahrez and Eriksen to target the fixtures, that will go up. But it's kind of tough right now. I'm struggling to get anything going week to week for like the last 4 or 5 weeks of mostly been red arrows, even though I don't think I've made too many ridiculous decisions like where you think, what the hell are you doing? So it's just one of those times of the season. Hopefully it won't carry on for the rest of the season and we can get that moving again, starting with Game Week 29. So let's go through the talking points before I go through my my team. So Snow, like I said at the start of the video, Snow is set in. We're still waiting to see if Arsenal, Man City get called off. I know a lot of people say that the pitches and stuff should be fine, the groundsman can sort it out, and that's true. I'm sure they could play on the ground. The problem is all the people trying to get to and from the ground. Once public transport starts getting closed off, it's dangerous to walk on ice, etc. Then they just call them off. So from looking at Twitter and the people in the know, it looks like if it does get called off tonight, it will get put into Game Week 31, which would be really interesting. So if that happens, people have been talking about whether that then makes the free hit more viable because obviously you've got better teams to target. You'd have Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City all playing in Game Week 31. I personally think it still makes the free hit more beneficial to use in Game Week 35. And this is all going to depend on how your team's set up. I'm just going to talk to it from kind of my team, my thinking and how a lot of people are set up. So one, if Man City don't blank, then we already have a lot of Man City players, most of us. A lot of people have Aguero, Sterling, De Bruyne, Otamendi. Some have all 3 of those 4. I've only got 1, but obviously I'm much happier to use transfers to get them back in than I am to get the maybe more rubbish players from Game Week 31. And likewise with Arsenal, while a lot of people don't have Arsenal assets, again, they'd be more happy to bring them in because the next 2 fixtures are good. I think it's Brighton away and Watford at home. And then they wouldn't blank in Game Week 31, which would make them more desirable. Then they got some good fixtures. They don't blank in Game Week 35. So for anyone that doesn't have kind of free hit and wildcard and stuff, if Arsenal gets called off this week, there's nothing you can do about it. So no point worrying. We're all in the same boat. But it would mean that Arsenal assets then become really, really valuable because they wouldn't blank all the way through. And they've got good fixtures. And arguably they've got good players. I know they got absolutely beaten by Man City in the League Cup. They got beaten by Spurs. Although the scoreline wasn't high, I think it was quite a comfortable win for Spurs. But at home, they do okay. They scored, I think, 9 goals in the last 2 home fixtures, 5 against Everton only 2 game weeks ago. So I say they're worth looking at. Aubameyang, we still yet to see him light up any matches, but he has had mostly tough fixtures. Obviously, he scored the goal against Everton, was a really nice finish, but not done much since. It's hard to get him in right now with Kane and Firmino. Obviously, you want Firmino for the blank. Firmino, not Firmino. Firmino for the blank. And obviously Kane's got good fixtures, so you're not getting rid of either of those two. But you might look at him for Kane, for example, because Kane will blank. So we know that now. They beat Rochdale 5-6-1, I think, last night, actually, 6-1. So they'll blank in game week 31. So they've still got good fixtures, so I'd hold them for the next two. Maybe even look at bringing in a Spurs player. But then you're going to want to maybe looking at replacing them for 1 week only, especially if Man City and Arsenal play. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. They could just play tonight and nothing else will change. Any plans you had already for game week 31 should probably remain roughly the same. But if they're going to play, I'd definitely be looking at. I'd start looking at bringing in players like Ramsey or Aubameyang, Monreal maybe if he's back fit. If City are going to play, then I'd look to probably triple up. But then again, we have to weigh up kind of Europe and how far or how well they're doing in the league and stuff like that. So obviously for the next round of Champions League, someone like Spurs, for example, have got Juventus and they need to get a win there. It's going to be much tougher to go through, whereas Man City are already well ahead in their game. You'd expect them to comfortably win the second round tie or the second leg tie. So they might not be so worried about resting players and stuff. They may just go for the league because they've got obviously tougher fixtures like Arsenal, where they might want to play their full squad just to basically get over the line. Once the league's wrapped up, it's totally different. Then Pep can start to rotate a bit more. But right now, they're going to probably be looking to still wrap up the league, I think, especially when they're facing the top six, who are their biggest rivals now. I know Arsenal aren't going to win the league, but I think Pep's the kind of man that still definitely wants to make that a clean victory, get through with no issues, hopefully come through with no players unscathed, and then just concentrate on the Champions League, which they're definitely going to go through to the next round. So, Game Week 31 is down as a panic, because in Game Week 28, no players that are going to play in 31 did that well. Like I say, Nias didn't perform, Walcott didn't perform, Deulofeu got injured, Watford in general just didn't look very good. There's just not much to entice us into Game Week 31. Obviously, people bought Van Dijk in, he didn't do anything. It was actually Robertson that got the assist in the end, so he came away with the attacking return. So now he suddenly looks like a better option. Personally, I'm still looking at both of them. I'm weighing up my options. One of the reasons I didn't get in Van Dijk this week was to leave the Mane door open, for example. But I'd also look at Robertson as well, considering he's a cheap price and he does attack, and I'd be super surprised if he loses his place. So my advice for Game Week 31 is not to panic right now. I don't think too much has changed. I don't know if we expected Everton to get returns throughout this kind of 4-game period starting last week or starting in Game Week 28. They got Brighton at home and then they got Stoke away, and I know that away they've not been great, but if you're going to get one of them in for Brighton at home, obviously you're happy enough to play them in Game Week 31. I think a lot of people will bring in players like Walcott, maybe Sigurdsson. I know I'll be looking at Walcott, for example. So I wouldn't panic just yet. I'm trying to leave my options open as long as possible. I don't want to miss out on great fixtures. That's why I bought in Spurs, bought in Eriksen and Mahrez last week. I mean, talking of those two, I know people are still looking at bringing them in. I think it's a tough call. Obviously, Eriksen is a bit more expensive. If you've got the money for both, I think you probably go Eriksen just about. He got rested in the FA Cup replay last night, so he didn't start the game. I know they've got Juventus soon, but I think he's going to play against Huddersfield, and then they've got Bournemouth away. So they're two good fixtures. The only thing you could say is Huddersfield can frustrate. I know Liverpool beat him pretty comfortably recently. I think it was 3-0 in the end. They did frustrate him for quite a lot of the game, where they just sat deep and they couldn't get anything going. I wonder if Spurs might struggle there, and if they don't get a goal early enough, then they might struggle to go on and score 3, 4, 5 goals. So I think Eriksen's probably slightly better. Mahrez has Bournemouth at home, I believe, and then West Brom away. So fixtures-wise, they're so similar, those two. Mahrez was a bit unlucky to come away from the last game without a goal, I'd say, or without more points. He did really well, had a great chance one-on-one. But Eriksen's obviously on a few set pieces. He's creating chances. He's still having goal attempts as well, on target, just like Mahrez. So I think between the two, I'd probably go Eriksen over the next two. But Mahrez definitely looks like a good shout too. And then I just wanted to quickly mention Ben Davies. Obviously, the fixtures are good for Spurs, so they're obviously good for him too. In Rose's absence, who actually played in the FA Cup last night, Ben Davies has done really well. He's kind of established himself as maybe even the first choice right back. Danny Rose is obviously a great player, but while he was out, he did kind of imply that he wanted to leave the club. We don't know if he's in Pochettino's good books, so maybe Ben Davies will get more of a run than in the past, where we've seen them kind of alternate week to week, playing a different fullback. I wonder if now Ben Davies will play more often, so he'll play against Huddersfield, then maybe Juventus, and even Bournemouth again. Obviously, if they go out of Champions League, then maybe it's even better for him. If they stay in, then longer term, it might be an issue. But if you're now in a position where you're thinking, well, actually, the Game Week 31 players aren't great, I don't want to get them in right now, I've got other plans, or you've got enough players you're happy with already for that week, and you want to target some more quality players with quality fixtures like Mahrez, like Eriksen. Obviously, you can chuck Vardy in there as well. And I think Ben Davies has to be a consideration. I'm tempted by it for Jones because, as you can see in my team, Jones is currently flagged, so he might not even play. So I'm looking at Ben Davies. I think he's a potential good option and definitely one to consider for his price. So just going to come on to my team now. That's kind of the main points I think for this week. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, make sure to leave a question below and I'll try and get to that as soon as possible before the deadline. But yeah, I'm just on the fly now. I'm just going to change to my team for this week just so you can go, just so you can see where I'm at, who I'm looking at captaining and things like that. So this is how I'm right now. I've still got Pickford in goal. I just can't get rid of him because he plays in Game Week 31. But he is rubbish. Everton just aren't keeping clean sheets. He's a problem for me, but I just hope that Burnley don't have enough in the tank to get a goal. But we've seen them nick a few goals over the course of the season and get a few 1-0 wins. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens against Pickford. I've just got my fingers crossed I get some points from him. Moving on, I haven't got rid of Alonso yet. Now, I'm kind of in a position where if I don't get rid of Alonso or Sterling, I'm kind of stuck. So it's fine not to make a transfer this week for my team, but next week I'll have to make one because otherwise I'll lose it for Game Week 31. And I'm not in a position where my team is good enough for Game Week 31 going forward to lose a transfer. So the reason I say I'm stuck is I've got no money to play with, so I can't upgrade Ibe, who I'm going to have to wait on news on whether he's going to maybe start this week. But there's always a chance, I've said it for a few weeks, that he doesn't play. Obviously, Crouch is no good. At the moment, he looks like he's still red flagged. So I'm kind of stuck there with no money to upgrade them. And the only way I can see myself getting any money is Sterling out, which I'm not convinced I want to do. Obviously, Chelsea at home next, then it's Stoke. So I think that's okay fixtures. The only concern is he going to keep starting? Obviously, Sané's back, Jesus is back. Pep's now got options. We know they're going to win the league. Obviously, he's not going to come out and say that. I don't think it's until it's completely wrapped up. So maybe Sterling will keep getting played until it's wrapped up. Then he'll get saved for Europe because he has been one of their star players this year alongside De Bruyne and Silva and even Aguero. So I don't really want to get rid of him just yet, even though I know that if he plays tonight and there's still a blank in Game Week 31, then it's Chelsea at home, then Stoke, then a blank. So arguably I could get rid of him, and I'm going to keep thinking about that. Similar to Alonso, he's got Man City away. Again, a tough fixture, but then it's Crystal Palace at home. I'd really like him for that fixture. But again, if I sell him, I could get some money. So right now, that's my options. I could do Jones to Robertson. That would free up a little bit of money and maybe let me do something with Ibe. But again, it wouldn't let me get to someone like Shaqiri, who, even though I've tried to avoid him because I think his points are going to dry up, he seems to be consistently scoring. He's got a good Game Week 31 fixture, so I'm looking at getting him in at some point. But again, I can't just do Ibe to Shaqiri, so I'm kind of stuck there. So I'm looking at potentially swapping Alonso, Jones or Sterling out to make some money. I don't necessarily want to make any of those transfers. And if I do get rid of Jones, I'm looking at Van Dijk and Ben Davies as well. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I'm a bit disappointed with how many points Eriksen and Mahrez got last week. I feel like I was a bit unlucky with Mahrez, but it is what it is. Hopefully they can do the business against Bournemouth and Huddersfield at home. It doesn't really get much better than that fixture-wise. Hopefully Huddersfield won't frustrate Spurs too much and Eriksen can get in on the points. And then captain-wise, What I don't know what more there is to say about Salah. You all know how good he is. You don't need me to sit here and tell you that. And if you do, you're probably playing the wrong game. That's not to say Kane's not a good option. Obviously, it's Huddersfield at home. It's Harry Kane. This man scores goals for fun. But, like I said earlier in the video, Spurs have a much tougher game in the Champions League than Liverpool do. Liverpool are pretty much through. Even they can't blow it against Porto. I think they won 5-0 away. That's obviously loads of away goals. Porto would have to match that to get to extra time at Anfield, and it's just not going to happen. I'm going to say it, maybe I'll be eating my words, it's just not going to happen. I don't think that's an out there prediction. No one's going to say you're talking crazy. So, I mean, Liverpool got a much better fixture in the Champions League. I think Huddersfield and Newcastle are both similar. I think Huddersfield have shown they can frustrate, even though they do concede. And I think Liverpool have definitely got enough to play against Newcastle. But again, we have seen Newcastle come and park the bus against teams like City and do it pretty well, at least for long periods of the game. So I'm going to captain Salah. He's been consistent all season. He's in really good point scoring form right now. I just think there's no reason not to. He will be the most captain player again this week. It'll be a red arrow if I don't captain him and he does really well and none of my other players perform. There's the argument that you captain someone else to try and get, to kind of risk it to get ahead so that if Salah does blank, you're in the money. But the problem is if you've done that for the last kind of 4 weeks, you're going to be miles behind. So that 1 week where you get it right just won't make up for all the other points. So I'm going to go for Salah, but next week we won't have to captain him because he's playing Man United away and I definitely won't captain him for that. So I would say I'm going to make some risky decision or punt, but it's going to go back on Kane. But at least it's something different to Salah. So yes, enough of that. Salah's my captain. Obviously, he scores well. What more is there to say? So that's my team right now. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you think of the points I've mentioned in this video. What's your team looking like? Who you're captaining? Who you're transferring? All that good stuff. Leave a comment below and I'll try and get back to as many as I can before the deadline. I'm going to leave the video there. Make sure to give it a like if you enjoyed it. Always appreciate the support from you guys. Subscribe if you're new around here. That'll show you all the new videos and streams. This will probably be up by Thursday afternoon. I'm going to stream tonight about, I'm going to say 9 o'clock if the Man City and Arsenal game gets called off. If it doesn't, I'll stream after the game and we'll talk then. So yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time. Cheers for tuning in.